go. Hello and welcome to Fur, Fins, and Feathers. This is our 62nd episode, and today our guest is Dr. Nuno Carreiro of the University of Massachusetts, who is a noted small animal practitioner.
General practitioner.
General practitioner. Welcome to our show.
Thank you so much for
We
having
are very
me.
happy to have you.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. It's great to be here. Thanks for the invitation.
We have a strong relationship insofar that I was his teacher many, many years ago. I don't want to go back and say how many years ago.
It's quite a few years. Yeah, we'll leave it at that.
We'll leave it at that. And then I met when I was working at the Standard Times in New Bedford. One of the veterinarians at Anchor Animal Hospital said, "Oh, this would be a good story for your pet column." And when we connected at Anchor, it was amazing to see you again.
It was great to see you too. Yes, I spent some time at Anchor Animal Hospital in Dartmouth, so it was nice to reconnect there too.
You have a very wonderful history with Bristol Aggie. Tell us about your Aggie experience.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I grew up in Fall River, Massachusetts from the age of 10, and I knew that I wanted to work with animals even at that age. Growing up in Fall River, there's not many opportunities as far as working in agriculture, but I heard about Bristol County Agricultural High School and the majors and the opportunities, the educational opportunities there. So that was my goal. In middle school, I already knew that I really wanted to go to Bristol Aggie. And so way back in 1992, I started attending Bristol Aggie and majored in small animal science. Yeah, so what I really liked about the school is that the first year, they let you rotate through all the majors there.
Yes.
And some of those experiences I've carried throughout my whole life. So not only the small animal experience, but also, ag mechanics or arboriculture, how to safely prune and climb a tree, how to fix small engines. All these things were great, and I still use them today, like I said. I have a lawnmower that needs upkeep, and that's what I really liked about Bristol Aggie was the hands-on education. And of course, from the animal side, the school just had a lot of resources, learned how to work and manage different types of species of animals, all the way from rats, mice, guinea pigs, rabbits. Of course, the school also had a large animal barn where we learned how to manage dairy cows and horses. We even built one of the outdoor arenas. The students got to build that, and that's what I loved about the school too. Whenever there's a project that the students can become involved with, they're the ones that actually complete the project. So to me, it was just a great 4-year experience. The teachers were very supportive, a small community. Even though I was the class of 96, I feel like the class of 95 and 97 and 94, we're all part of that same group, that same class.
It's a family.
It's a family atmosphere for sure.
Now, when I had you as a student, you had just come, I believe, you are a native of the Azores.
That's correct. Yes, I was born in the Azores on the island of St. Michael, small village. Well, maybe not so small anymore, but Lagoa.
Which I visited a couple of years ago twice.
Twice.
Lagoa is beautiful.
Thanks, and it's. I think once people go the first time, they want to go back because just of the natural beauty of the island.
So after you graduated from Aggie, where did you go? Where your journey continued?
My journey continued. While I was at Bristol Aggie, I found out that becoming a veterinarian is really what I wanted to do. It kind of cemented that dream that I had always as a kid to become a veterinarian and working with animals. It's not just the love of working with animals that will get you to become a successful veterinarian or get you to that career, but also the love of science. So I think at Bristol Aggie, I really enjoyed the science classes, and my next step in the journey was to go on to an undergraduate institution. So I actually went to University of Massachusetts Amherst. I started
Another
out
fabulous school.
another great school, and I have to say both schools, Bristol Aggie and UMass, have undergone transformations over the years. So coming back to the state of Massachusetts, thinking about where Bristol Aggie was to where it's now, and they've just undergone a tremendous physical transformation on campus. The school is growing, has grown in many different ways, and will continue to grow, and it's great to see.
I drove by the other day and I was amazed.
Yeah, I haven't been able to see the new buildings or anything like that, but I'm very excited for the school in its mission to continue its passion for agricultural education and what that means to the surrounding communities and the students that are attending now but will also be attending in the future. I really truly believe in the mission of that school, and going along with transitioning to University of Massachusetts Amherst as a land-grant university. They're also big proponents of agricultural education and, of course, the promotion of science. So after Bristol Aggie, I went to University of Massachusetts at Amherst and began in their equine program. So I got my 2-year associate's degree and then transferred over to a 4-year Bachelor of Science degree in animal science. In the pre-vet track.
What was that like?
Again, that was great because the university also has their own, they operate their own farm. So I got to have a lot more hands-on experience with large animals, sheep and horses especially, but we also managed, a small pig herd, goats. Goats were also on campus. But it was great. I mean, it's a very different environment, right? Going from Bristol Aggie, where there was maybe 300 or so students, to a big university. But the UMass campus is as big or is as small as you want it to be. You have all the resources of a big university, which are really there to support you as a student. But the veterinary animal science department can feel like a very small kind of family feel. You get to know everyone in that department. The professors are just tremendous and very supportive. And they've supported me not only while I was at UMass, but more importantly, they've even supported me even after graduation. So I think they still continue to support me now that I'm back in the department. I still have some of my professors that I used to have when I was a student there. They are still there and supporting me now as beginning my career at UMass as a professor.
So after you graduated with your undergraduate degree, you pursued a master's degree?
Yeah, I did. So UMass has so many opportunities within itself that I decided to stay another year, and I was offered the opportunity. So let me back up a little bit. As an undergraduate, I had the opportunity to work in a research laboratory within the department, and I started doing some research as an undergraduate, and I wasn't quite ready to apply to vet school as my senior year was approaching. So I was offered the opportunity to complete a Master's of Science within the Department of Veterinary and Animal Science. And I studied a tropical disease called trypanosomiasis, which causes sleeping sickness in people in Africa, but also causes a disease called nagana in cattle. So it's a parasite that infects the blood of both people and animals and can cause severe, not only economic losses, but also, loss of life potentially for both animals and people. So I was working on this project for my master's degree, and while I was there working that year, that's when I decided to start applying to veterinary school. So I finished up my master's degree in about a year and learned that I got accepted to vet school at Colorado State.
A major transition,
Another major transition. So
weather-wise too.
yes. Now, my thoughts about Colorado. You think about Colorado, you think about, the big majestic mountains and cold and snow. But honestly, New England weather is is pretty rough compared to Colorado, honestly. So Colorado State is in Fort Collins, Colorado, which is at the foothills of the Rocky Mountains. And that makes the weather a little bit more milder, a little more consistent than even New England. So I had no problem transitioning weather-wise. I enjoyed Colorado. It's a great state to live in. Weather-wise, if you love the outdoors, lots of great hiking. It seems like everyone in Colorado loves to hike and has a dog as a friend to to hike with. So.
And how was your experience at Colorado State?
Again, just another great experience. I feel like things happen for a reason. And, I was led to Colorado State, and that's exactly where I was meant to be. I just love the experience from, again, the school itself, one of the top veterinary schools in the country. I mean, they're all good. I should say that all veterinary schools are top-notch in this country. Colorado State is known for its research, and especially its oncology department, so cancer research. They work to treat not only animal cancer, but a lot of that information translates to treating cancer in people. So I was really interested in that type of work. But coming in as a new veterinary student, they made it as great a transition as possible. They put all the incoming freshman students together in a setup where you are basically with your classmates from 8 to 5 every day. You are helping each other study. You're going through the same thing. So again, it made it more of a family environment. I got very close to many of my classmates in vet school, and I still keep in touch with them to this day.
And they have now scattered all over the country.
Yeah, we tend to do that. So they're practicing veterinarians all over the country. Some of them have gone on to specialize and become veterinary anesthesiologists, veterinary ophthalmologists. So anything you can think of that a human doctor does, a veterinarian can also do. So when we get sick, we go to a general practitioner. We go to a family practitioner, right? So that's kind of what I do. That's what I like to do is family practice, general practice. But you go to a family doctor and they say, you know what, I think there's something going on with your eyes. Maybe you should go to an ophthalmologist.
Of course.
Or maybe it's a heart issue. You got to go to a cardiologist. So you have all these specialties in human medicine that are also found in veterinary medicine.
Did you have a specialty?
So coming in as a new veterinary student, I came in with the thought of doing veterinary surgery. I thought I wanted to be a veterinary surgeon. I'm very mechanical. I like to build things. I like to take them apart. So surgery was like that closest thing.
Your Aggie training.
My Aggie training was still there, right? I like to take things apart, put it back together. So veterinary surgery, you get to work with all these amazing tools and fix bones and fix tissues. I thought that's what I wanted to do. What I really found out, and anyone thinking about a veterinary career, what I encourage them to do is to always keep an open mind. Don't set yourself into this hole of, I want to do this exactly. Yeah, it's good to have a plan, but always keep your mind open to possibilities. And that was what vet school was all about.
Discover the options.
Exactly. So in vet school, there was many options available. What I found out is that I like to do a lot of things, and general practice allows me to do a lot of things. Whereas if I had pursued a career as a veterinary surgeon, I had to ask myself, do I see myself doing surgery, and just about only surgery every day, every single day? And the answer was no. I like to do so many other things that instead of pursuing a specific specialty, I pursue general practice, because I still get to do surgery. There's nothing that says I cannot do any kind of surgery as a general practitioner, but I get to do medicine. I get to interpret radiographs. I get to do a little bit of ophthalmology. I still get to see the eyes. I get to do a little bit of everything, which is what I enjoy.
Very, very good. And we will continue on, but talk about your work. You've worked in many states and you've worked in other foreign countries. Talk about, intrigued when you sent me some information. I was intrigued about your work with the horses in Virginia.
Okay. So I guess, well, I'll start with that by saying, after I graduated from vet school, something else that happens in vet school, life goes on, right? Life doesn't stop. I met my wife while in vet school and we got married, and we were deciding, okay, where do we move to? We loved Colorado, but we were ready for a change.
Is she a veterinarian?
She's not a veterinarian. At the time, she was studying wildlife biology.
Okay.
So she finished her undergraduate wildlife biology degree, and I finished my veterinary degree. We didn't want to come back to Massachusetts right away. We were kind of just starting off in our marriage, and we're like, sky's the limit. Where do you want to go? And a very persuasive veterinarian in Virginia kept calling me and wanted me to come out to do an interview, and we flew out to, both of us, my wife and I, flew out to the coast of Virginia, on the eastern shore of Virginia. So that's just north of Virginia Beach, which many people don't know the Delmarva Peninsula very well, but it's that Delmarva Peninsula, which, of course, it's Delaware, Maryland, and that very little tip of that peninsula is actually Virginia country. And there's a big bridge that connects that little piece to the mainland, down to Virginia Beach. And so we visited, and we thought, this is the place for us to start our new chapter. What I liked about that practice was that it was a rural practice. It was a general practice, but they saw many different species of animals. Not only did they have a clinic where we saw small animals in the clinic, but they also saw large animal, so we went on call. They had a farm, a veterinary truck, and we would do calls to do mostly a lot of horse work. And the other thing that this practice does, still to this day, they are the official veterinarian of the Chincoteague Ponies. The world famous Chincoteague Ponies down in, they're actually on
That are world-renowned.
World-renowned, made famous in their own right, but also by the book written by Marguerite Henry, who wrote the famous children's book, Misty of Chincoteague, which many, I think maybe the newer generation maybe aren't as familiar with the book, but maybe my generation, your generation, maybe know the book a little bit more, which details the story of two young kids that go on to adopt a Chincoteague pony, which are these feral herd of ponies on Assateague National Park, which is an island. And these feral herd of ponies, nobody knows exactly how they got there, but they've been there for hundreds of years. In order to control the population of the horses on the island, they have to remove some horses every year. And those horses are auctioned off and bought and adopted by people from all over the country. So Marguerite Henry's book, it's a children's story about these two kids that have a dream about getting a Chincoteague pony. And so that kind of elevated the Chincoteague pony, their fame. And so that was something really great I got to do while being a practitioner on the Eastern Shore of Virginia, was also to, be an associate veterinarian for the herd and help keep
That must
the
have
herd.
been a fascinating experience.
Yes, the main veterinarian, Dr. Charlie Cameron, who, to this day is a good friend, and we still keep in touch, and I still go down every spring to help with the herd management. He's been the main veterinarian for over 25 years, and I learned a lot from him on how to, manage this unique horse herd. And we always look forward to the 3 times a year where we work with these ponies, which is the springtime when they get herded into a group, so they get their yearly health checkup and vaccinations. We also do something called a Coggins test to look for infectious disease. And we also do some maintenance. Some horses might need a little bit of hoof trimming and things like that. And so we look them over every spring. And then in the summertime is the next time they get rounded up. And that is for the big Chincoteague Pony Swim. So because the ponies are on Chincoteague Island, every year the tradition has been for over 90 years that those horses swim from Chincoteague Island to Chincoteague Island, where the auction happens. Now, this used to happen because there was no bridge between Chincoteague and Chincoteague Island. That's how the tradition started. There is a bridge now, but they've decided to continue the tradition of swimming the ponies over. And that draws a lot of people to come and see those ponies swim. Believe it or not, horses are excellent swimmers. They actually swim on their own. Even if they're not rounded up, the ponies will swim on their own from one island to the next if they feel like they need to. Sometimes it's to look for better forage. Sometimes to look for new water sources. The ponies themselves will swim over throughout the year, depending on the conditions. So that's another time is the summertime where the ponies get rounded up and some of them get auctioned off.
How many ponies are there?
So the island, because it's a national park, it is limited to about 150 horses on the island.
So there's a substantial number.
There is a substantial number, and I should tell the audience that there's the Chincoteague ponies on Chincoteague Island, and Chincoteague Island is also divided into a Maryland side and a Virginia side because it's right on the border. And there are 2 herds of horses. There's the Virginia side, which are the Chincoteague ponies, and there is a Maryland herd. They're managed differently. They're managed by the Maryland Parks Service, whereas the Chincoteague ponies are managed, mostly they're overseen by the Chincoteague Volunteer Fire Department. So they own the horses, but they partner with the park services and other stakeholders to manage the national park. So, but we got to keep it at 150 horses on the island because you don't want to overcrowd the island because there are other species, especially of birds, that are endangered. And so if the island gets overrun with horses, then other species will start to feel the effects of that.
Very good.
But it's an exciting time when the auction happens because people come from all over the country. They've read the books. They want their own Chincoteague pony. A lot of grandparents come with their grandkids. And it's just so exciting when we see the right combination of the right people with the right pony.
Creating a perfect match.
Creating a perfect match and just seeing the excitement on their face. My job, when I used to work for the practice on the Eastern Shore of Virginia, that every summer it would be for me to write the health certificates. And so I've been able to send ponies all over the country. Some of these ponies travel as far as California, all the way south, and some even up to Canada. So the Chincoteague pony herd, it's an actual recognized breed, and you can find them all over the country now.
Very, very interesting history.
It is, and there's more history to that. The reason why they started to auction off the ponies for money, again, this happened over 90 years ago. Chincoteague Island unfortunately suffered a major fire over 90 years ago, which devastated like half the island. And The reason why the fire was devastating is because there was no fire department. They didn't have the resources for even a volunteer fire department. So somehow someone came up with the idea of rounding up these feral ponies and starting auctioning them off, and then proceeds went to the island acquiring a volunteer fire department, getting better equipment so that they can fight the fires. And to this day, that's why the fire department owns the ponies, and this is why they continue the auction every year, this is how the volunteer fire department keeps their budget and is able to make sure they have the equipment they need to keep the island safe.
Very interesting.
Yeah. The third time of the year they get rounded up is in the fall. Probably around October, they all get rounded up for another health check. So even though these ponies are feral, we try to leave them on the island and be horses and be themselves. But because there's so many, these are beloved horses, beloved ponies, not only by the town people, but people all over the world. We do manage them a little bit closely. So in the fall, they also get rounded up again, and we do another health check and deworm them, make sure that the parasite load stays low to keep them healthy.
So how many times a year do you go down?
Right now, so I used to be involved with all 3 times when I used to work there. Right now, I just go down in the springtime. That health check in the spring is a little more intensive.
Were you down this year?
This year, I did not get to go. Unfortunately, I think, because of the pandemic and I've also been in transition. This is my first year. This was my first year. I did not get to go. But
you'll be back next year, hopefully.
I'll be back next year for sure, and I'm hoping with students. I like to involve students in whatever I do. So I plan a trip. I usually take a small group of students, usually pre-veterinary students. About 6 to 8 students come down with me, and I teach them how to do the vaccinations. And these students will go ahead and do probably 150, they'll vaccinate about 150 horses in a day. So we go down there, we leave on a Friday, we do all the work on a Saturday, and then we come back on a Sunday. But the students love it because they get to see these horses, very special horses up close, and they get to vaccinate them for multiple vaccines actually. So they get like a rabies vaccine, Eastern Western encephalitis, which is a mosquito-borne disease they get vaccinated for, tetanus. So I think a lot of us are familiar with tetanus. Horses can get tetanus also, so they get a vaccine against that protects them against tetanus.
Our producers are telling me that this is fascinating, and I can't wait to continue, but the first segment is done. So we are going to take a brief break, and we will get back with segment 2. It was great to see you. That's fascinating. And you've opened up to me a lot of questions. So we're very eager to get back into this. We're going to take a brief break, and thank you for Fur, Fins, and Feathers, segment 1. Thank you.